Welcome to Money Secrets with Bill and Mike.
I'm Bill Alexander.
And I'm Mike Tove. Bill, I want to talk about something. A few weeks ago, I got an interview by the Chicago Tribune, and they wanted to talk to me about income planning. And we had Warren Coble on a while ago, and so I wanted to come back and revisit that. So I was thinking.
Well, to remind folks, Warren Coble was here to talk to us about Social Security elections and how important they are in terms of maximizing your income over the years. And of course, he was great food for thought, I think, very important in terms of what Warren had to say. But income's important to everyone.
Yep, try getting along without it. So we'll be back in a minute and talk about income. Hey, we're back. So, Bill, one of the things that I get a lot of clients they're worried about is they get to their point of retirement and it's as if they have walked to the edge of a plateau that they have lived their lives on, and they're looking out over this endless precipice of what do I do now? And they panic.
Well, there's no question about that, and of course one of the things that we want to talk about is how do we get through that panic stage? How do we get from here, what's the bridge from here to retirement?
Right.
And truthfully, I want to talk first about two retirement myths that are that so many well-educated people believe in. And as a result, they have a lot less income over the years of retirement. So what are those myths? The first one is something that Warren Coble told us about,
right.
And that is when to make your Social Security elections. And the myth is to take your Social Security just as soon as you can get it. And quite frankly, for most people, that's age 62. For widows, it's age 60. And the biggest mistake, as Warren told us, was taking Social Security early. Now, why is it a myth? It's because, well, the government's going to run out of money.
That's the thing. They're afraid, well, the government's going to take it away, that it's not going to be there for me.
So take your Social Security just as soon as you can, because it's going to be gone if you don't get it while you can.
Yeah, get it while you can.
And unfortunately, that's probably the worst mistake that people make. There is, for those who take it at age 62 versus age 66, which is the current retirement age, there's a 25% penalty, lifetime penalty that you can never get back for taking it early. So that's a huge, huge mistake. And for those widows who take it at age 60, there's an even steeper penalty for them for their lifetime. And of course, life expectancies are getting longer and longer.
That's the second myth, isn't it? Is that people say to me, oh, I won't make it to 80. And yet...
Well, we know that the life tables for both men and women are far longer than 80. In fact, for most men, it's mid-80s plus, and for most women, it's late 80s plus. And getting longer and longer every year.
And even in the Social Security tables, and the Social Security life tables are unisex, so it's assuming it's all blended. The official life expectancy for a 70-year-old is 17 years. It's age 86. And most people that get to 70 are going to beat that.
Well, what I tell my clients is that as it relates to Social Security elections, the only two reasons for taking Social Security earlier than your full retirement age, one is if you're a very sick person. You already know that your life expectancy is down the tubes and very short. And for that reason, yes, I can appreciate it. The other one is only if there is no bridge, if you will. There's no way that you can live without taking your Social Security. And I know you're going to talk to us this morning about that bridge, but
Right.
before we get there, I want to go into myth number 2, which I think is so important. And unfortunately, a lot of financial advisors push their clients this way, and that is, don't take your retirement account money. You know, that might be your 401k or your 403b or your IRA. Those are the predominant, those are the 3 biggies. But any type of retirement, they basically say, only take your mandatory minimum distributions. And of course, those come when you're 70 and a half. So they're basically saying, don't touch it until then, and then only take your minimum mandatory amount, which is absolutely can be horrible advice.
Right, and as we're going to see in a minute, it is the way by switching that mistake and taking advantage of that early. One of the things that I'm able to do, and we'll see it, is that I structure income planning such that as people get further and further into their retirement years, not only does their income get bigger, but their tax load gets smaller.
Well, I think it's really wonderful how you can help folks understand the relationship between Social Security and their retirement accounts, because most people today retire with fairly good sized retirement accounts that are usable. But of course, one of the bad things about using retirement accounts is that if you start pulling it out, you have to pay income tax on it. But that's true whether you pull it out now or whether you pull it out later. And so a lot of this discussion has to do with, when do you start pulling it out? How can I best benefit our long-term income as to when we start pulling out that retirement
Well, I'm going to
income?
add myth number 3 to
Thanks.
your myths, and that is that the calculation for required minimum distributions is not a fixed percentage. The calculation changes every single year, and it gets progressively larger and larger. And interestingly enough, it is mathematically impossible to liquidate an IRA based on the schedule of minimum distributions. It can't be done, because if you make it to age 115,
You still have life expectancy.
you still have life expectancy, and your minimum distribution is only slightly more than 50%.
Right.
So the minimum distributions are relentless once they start, and they do get bigger and bigger. So we'll be back in a second, and I'm going to show some examples. And we're back. So Bill, I want to go over a kind of a simplified example of what I do with clients. And so what I have done, and it'll be on the screen here, but I have a hypothetical couple. Now this is very
We'll just
hypothetical.
call them Bob and Mary.
Bob and Mary, and they're both 65.
Okay.
And they have retired from their employment, and they are facing that dilemma of income.
So they're facing, when do we take our Social Security?
Right.
We've got some
do we-
retirement nest egg. How do we take it?
And so what they've got is they got a $1,500 pension from
Okay,
one of their
together.
jobs together, and there's a $300,000 IRA, 401k, whatever.
That's their combined
which is combined.
retirement
Yeah,
account.
so this is
Okay.
modest, but it's actually 300 is about average in the country.
Sure.
And one of them has Social Security of $2,000 a month, the other has $1,500. So
Okay,
we're going to
Bob
have
has 2,000, Mary has 1,500, fairly common.
and at 65, they're going to get $3,500 a month in Social Security, and they desperately need $5,000 a month to meet their living needs. So they're looking now. They've heard you're supposed to wait on Social Security, right?
Okay.
They know that, but they don't know what else to do because they can't make it on $1,500 a month on Bob's
Okay,
pension.
I understand.
So they
But-
start their Social Security.
Okay, but they're at Social Security now. They could wait on Social Security, but they're thinking we need $5,000 a month.
Exactly, and they don't know what to do because all they see is this endless sea of.
But we know that if they take their Social Security election before their full retirement age, which is 66, they will each take a lifetime penalty on
That's right.
that. Now,
So-
at 65, it's not a huge penalty, but it will follow them the rest of their life.
Correct. But they've got this big IRA, so what are they going to do? Well, the mistake is they're going to bite the bullet, they'll take the Social Security because at least it gets them there. And then they'll start their minimum distributions at 70. Now, here's the thing, they don't see that as part of the equation.
So their financial advisor has told them, don't touch that retirement
Right.
account. Preserve that, let it grow, and there'll be more there for you if you let it grow.
And so when they're 70, just 5 years from now, they're going to get $1,165 a month in required minimum distributions.
All right, so that's based on the $300,000
Right.
that they had 5 years ago, plus its growth.
And that's a modest, 5%
Sure.
is a rounded figure.
Okay.
So here's what they get. At 70, they're going to get $6,165 a month, which is great, but their taxes are going to be, first of all, on everything, including their Social Security, and at least part of it, and they're going to end up getting to keep $59.62 a month after tax.
That meets their goals, but and their goal was they had to have at least
$5,000.
$5,000 of income.
Factor inflation into that,
So we're about where they need to be.
bare bones minimum.
Okay, but when you said great, that's based on simply meeting their goals, not necessarily what's in their best interest.
Correct. So if we go to what could they do that would be smarter? Here's the money secret. Okay?
Money secret for the day.
Spend IRA money between now and age 70.
Oh, so, okay.
Spend
so
it down.
Now you're going against what their financial advisors told them to do.
Well, I'm going with what you said, but what's correct.
But
So
if we
we're
do
gonna-
that, well, let's look at it. You know, on the Social Security side, bottom line is instead of taking a penalty, we're basically maximizing our Social Security because at age 66, every year after that, we get an 8% boost.
And where do you get 8% guaranteed growth in anything?
Well, you're not going to get it in your IRA fund.
No. So we spend the IRA down, we take $3,500 a month. Yes, it's still growing. So when they get to 70, their required minimum distributions are now down to $423 a month.
And that's because they've been spending their IRA,
Right.
and hence they have a smaller IRA.
But their Social Security is bumped to $5,143 a month, plus their pension. Their total income at 70 is $7,066, and guess what? They pay less tax because
Okay.
more of the Social Security is there, and more of the Social Security proportionally is untaxed. They get to keep $6,947 a month. It's the exact same buckets of money, but by being smarter about it, they get more in retirement with less tax.
And they have less risk too, if you think about it, because as you know, I'm into asset protection
Right.
planning, and of course, once you start drawing Social Security, you don't have to worry about whether the markets are going to go up or down. You're going to get that money every month
That's
for the rest
right.
of your life.
That's right.
Whereas your IRA still bears
It's-
risk in the marketplace.
Correct. And so at the end of the day, it's something that I preach, and that is it's not how much you make that counts, it's how much you get to keep.
Okay, so let's go back. If we had done it the first way, the way so many financial advisors push their clients, we haven't touched our IRA and we've taken our Social Security early.
Right.
So what's our income at 65?
At 65, our income is 61.
No.
Oh,
at
I'm sorry.
65,
Oh, at 65, it's $5,000 a month.
Okay, right at 5,000, that actually meets our
goal.
minimum goal at that point. And then what happens to it when we reach 70?
61, 65 before tax, 59.62 after tax.
And that's because we're now taking our required minimum distributions.
which is 100% taxable.
Plus, we still get our Social Security and we still get our pension.
Correct.
All right, so I know that we have to take a break, but I want to, when we come back, I want to ask, all right, so that's where we were. What if we do it the right way, the money secret way?
Correct. We'll be right back. And we're back. So, Bill, let's talk about what do we do, how does it work when it's done right?
Well, you know, what we just left on was the fact that if we did it the traditional way, that we would have $5,000 to start with at age 65,
Right.
and then we'd take about $6,100 after we take our required minimum distributions at age 70. Now, instead, if we had, instead of taking our Social Security early, we had simply gotten our $3,500 a month out of our retirement account to give us that $5,000 a year, where would we be when we at that point?
Right. So, our Social Security is now $51.43 a month, and by the way, that excludes any adjustment for inflation, which is probably going to be there. Yeah.
Right. So in essence, we know we've gotten about a 35% bump or more from our Social Security.
And here's the neat part. If you just add those two numbers together, that plus the pension alone, take the minimum distributions off the table, you've got basically $6,700 a month in Social Security and pension, which I would predict in and of itself would have no net taxes on it whatsoever.
So even without taking a penny out of our IRA, we're actually getting more money per month.
Right.
Either way. And of course, we have to take money out of our IRA because we're now at age 70.
Yes.
And at 70 and a half, we have minimum required
But it is actually
distributions.
smaller now because we have spent it.
Okay.
And so the amount of taxable income
is less.
And so we have increased income and
Decreased taxes.
which is a good thing.
Absolutely.
Now, people will say, well, what about, inheritance for the kids and so forth? And okay, so if there were any other monies out there, I mean, hopefully people have
Now wait a minute. The rest of us are saying, how can we spend it all before we die?
Well, I know, but I try to think for everything. So,
Okay.
Because money is either for you or not you. You
Correct.
don't get to take it with you.
True.
But so the key is that they can grow the non-taxable money, if they have some, without having to touch it.
Well, that no question.
And from an inheritance standpoint, that's better.
Well, no question. And there's also another income plus for taking the Social Security later, and that is if Dad maximizes his Social Security out when he dies, because in most cases the guys die first. When Dad dies, Mom gets his Social Security
Correct.
check, which is much, much higher because they delayed until age 70.
That's right.
And another issue with Social Security, which, because oftentimes our wives are a few years younger than, so the wife is a few years younger than the husband, and oftentimes you have a situation where the wife can take half of the husband's Social Security until she gets to be 70, and then she can take her maximum Social Security herself. Again, thereby increasing their lifetime incomes.
Right. And then, of course, if she is younger, when it comes to calculating the minimum distributions, hers goes down when she inherits his IRA.
Correct.
And as a general rule, when there is a couple that is now reduced to a single, the income needs go down by about a third. So her total income, yeah, she'll lose part of the Social Security, but from a proportional standpoint, she's actually going, sounds terrible, she's actually going to get more money after he goes and have more resources.
Well, to me, this money secret is a no-brainer. It makes all the sense in the world, but it's so contrary to the myths that are out there and what most people push you to. And of course, this is a simple illustration, and these things can be much more complex.
Well, they usually are.
Well, and you know, this is the kind of thing where the myths on the street are the kind of things that hurt you significantly financially. This is why it's so important to have a really good financial advisor who can take your particular situation and really tailor a plan by doing the numbers and doing it right, to be able to show you, just like Mike does, as to how to increase your income.
Right. So anyway, I mean, the whole idea is, it goes back to what we said in our very beginning show, isn't it? Is that don't try to be a do-it-yourselfer. You've got to find somebody who can advise, who knows the pathways through all of this. It's complex. And by the way, it's changing all the time, isn't it?
It is.
Oh, that'll be another show.
Well, and when you factor in income tax to this, it becomes even more
Yeah.
complex. But
Yeah,
that's what it's all
absolutely.
about.
So we'll be back in a minute and wrap it up. So anyway, I'm Mike Tove of AIN Services. We can be reached at 800-363-2296. And you can find us online or on the web at www.ain-services.com.
And I'm Bill Alexander of WG Alexander & Associates. We're attorneys who focus on asset protection, elder law, and estate planning. Please join me on every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock on WPTF, 680 AM for Asset Protection Today.
And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for watching.